For a long time, Alan Jackson has been the image of traditional country music, a man famous for his baritone voice, sentimental songs, and good old family name. With his cowboy hat, gentle smile, and song lyrics ripe with faith and love, he always seemed to be someone who had it all together. Fans viewed him as the man who remained pure and simple to the core, never got involved in a scandal, and kept his life personal. But beneath that serene and composed image, there were always those who sensed that something was being left unsaid. Whispers were going around, not quite gossip, but muted interest. What was life like in secret? Was everything quite as perfect as it appeared? The truth is finally revealed, and it's not what anyone had in mind. A traditional country music icon, Alan Jackson was born to Joseph Eugene Daddy Gene Jackson and Ruth Music Mama Ruth Jackson in Newnan, Georgia. Jackson was the youngest of 5 siblings and was raised with his 4 older sisters in a small house that had been constructed around his grandfather's tool shed. His family was mostly of English heritage. His mom stayed in that small house until she died in 2017. Jackson started composing music in 1983, but his musical foundation was set long before. Growing up, he was surrounded by gospel music, but his exposure broadened once a friend introduced him to country icons such as Gene Watson, John Anderson, and Hank Williams Jr. Jackson went to Elm Street Elementary and then Newnan High School, ultimately landing a spot in a band called Dixie Steel. Upon graduation, at this time, he supplemented his blue-collar activities such as construction and forklift driving by playing in tiny clubs throughout Georgia. By the mid-1990s, Jackson was among country music's top stars. His greatest hits collection appeared in 1995 with 17 hits and 2 new songs, which both went to number 1. His 1996 album Everything I Love saw the number 1 hit Little Bitty and other successful hits, though it also produced his first single in years to fail the top 10. In 1998, High Mileage saw the addition of Right on the Money, which went to number 1. The next year, he made a stylistic gamble with Under the Influence, a disc of standard country covers that preserved his traditional style in an otherwise pop-influenced country music environment. During the 1999 CMA Awards, in a move that was either terribly bold or politically ambitious, Jackson disrupted his performance to perform George Jones's Choices after Jones had been asked to cut short his performance and walked off stage. As the 2000s began, Jackson continued to uphold traditional country music. With George Strait, he recorded Murder on Music Row, a lament about the commercialization of country music. Although not technically a single, the song caused quite an uproar and fueled widespread controversy. Jackson was still a shining exception in an industry trending toward pop country. Following the attacks of 9/11, he put out Where Were You? When the World Stopped Turning, which resonated with Americans and was a huge success. First performed live on the CMA Awards, the song quickly gained extensive radio airplay and was featured on his 2002 release drive. Later in 2002, Jackson put out his second Christmas album, Let It Be Christmas. He also did a duet with Jeannie Kendall entitled Timeless and True Love for her solo record. In 2006, he honored his mother's dream by creating a gospel record titled Precious Memories, which sold over 1.8 million copies. The same year, he ventured into a different sound on Like Red on a Rose, which was produced by Alison Krauss. The album strayed from his country origins toward softer rock, splitting his fans and performing poorly at the box office. He headed back toward his roots with Good Time in 2008, which included various hits such as Small Town Southern Man and Sissy's Song, a dedication to a family friend who had passed away in a motorcycle crash. His 16th studio album, Freight Train, was released in 2010, followed by the compilation album 34 Number Ones, which included his duet with the Zac Brown Band, As She's Walking Away. That same year, Jackson parted ways with Arista Nashville and signed a new deal with EMI Records Nashville under a partnership with his label ACR. In 2012, he issued 30 Miles West, but none of its singles charted in the top 20. He next released a second gospel album, Precious Memories Volume 2, and a bluegrass album, The Bluegrass Album, both of which fared well on the bluegrass and country charts. During 2014, Jackson was presented with a special display at the Country Music Hall of Fame honoring his 25-year career. He embarked on his Keep In It Country Anniversary Tour in 2015 and issued his 20th studio album, Angels and Alcohol, later that year. In 2016, Jackson was selected to represent one of 30 artists on the Forever Country Project, a mashup commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Country Music Association Awards, cementing his status as one of the genre-defining voices in country music. Family, faith, and friendship. Alan Jackson wed his high school sweetheart, Denise, on December 15, 1979. Together, the couple has weathered a lot of good times and bad times over the years, creating a lovely family in the process. They have 3 daughters, Maddie, born in 1990, Ollie, born in 1993, and Danny, born in 1997. In December 2022, the family grew still larger when their daughter Ollie and her husband Sam welcomed their first baby, a baby boy, making Alan and Denise proud grandparents. In 1998, their relationship ran into trouble. Pressure from fame and a hectic music career put a strain on the relationship, and the couple went their separate ways for a time. But they reconciled and have been solid ever since. Denise even published a book about their relationship. It's all about him. Finding the Love of My Life, which became a New York Times bestseller. The book contains intimate accounts of their relationship, the ups and downs they experienced, and how religion brought them together. In 2008, she returned with a second title, The Road Home, which is a keepsake or gift book. Alan Jackson isn't the only family member talented in music. His nephew, Adam Wright, is a country music singer-songwriter as well. Adam and his wife Shannon tour as a duo under the name The Wrights. They even got to record with Alan on his album What I Do, co-writing 2 tracks and providing background vocals. Jackson is also a cousin of ex-Major League Baseball player Brandon Moss. In 2009, Alan made news when he put his huge 135-acre estate outside Franklin, Tennessee, up for sale for $38 million. It was later sold in 2010 for $28 million, one of the highest home sales in the Nashville area. That same year, he purchased another house in the same suburb for approximately $3.6 million, although he put that one up for sale as well a while later. Alan was friends with fellow country icon George Jones. He paid homage to their camaraderie in such songs as Don't Rock the Jukebox and Just Playin' Possum. When Jones died in 2013, Alan sang his classic song, He Stopped Loving Her Today, at the funeral service at the Grand Ole Opry. He's also close friends with George Strait, and the two sang famously together on Murder on Music Row. Aside from music, Alan is a classic car enthusiast. His collection features some of the world's most valuable and rare models, such as a 1968 Shelby GT500 KR convertible and a 1970s Chevelle SS 396. Despite the woes, he still tackles life with poise and honesty. Criticism of Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning? Alan Jackson's Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning was an emotional ballad in the wake of the September 11th attacks, but it was also criticized for its perceived naivete and failure to be political. The single, written within days of the attacks, tried to capture the nation's shared sorrow without going into political commentary. Jackson himself said, "I didn't want to write a patriotic song. I didn't want it to be vengeful either." Such a strategy found traction in many, and the single became widely acclaimed and award-winning. Still, others criticized that the song oversimplified issues. J.A. Bartlett, in a review for Popdose, countered that the song celebrates its refusal to enact its ideals, positing it gave comfort without delving into the root causes or implications of the events. Moreover, the line of the song, "I watch CNN but I'm not sure I could tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran," was noticed. Though Jackson had meant to depict the confusion of ordinary Americans, some understood it to be pointing to a general lack of knowledge of world affairs. The reception of the song was not all good. In the 2002 episode of South Park, the show's creators parroted the song, suggesting it profited from national calamity. Despite the criticisms, Where Were You remains a significant piece in Jackson's discography, reflecting the nation's emotional state post 9/11. Its impact underscores the challenges artists face when addressing national tragedies, balancing personal expression with public expectation. Protest at the 1999 CMA Awards. During the 1999 Country Music Association (CMA) Awards, Alan Jackson made a dramatic statement that hit home with traditional country music fans. The controversy started when legendary country music artist George Jones was invited to sing his song, Choices, during the awards broadcast. The CMA asked Jones to sing a truncated version of the song, which offended him and caused him to turn down the invitation. Alan Jackson, who was to play his own single, Papa Top, stood up on stage during a set. Halfway through the song, he motioned his band to change songs and started singing the Choices chorus in Jones's honor. This spontaneous act was greeted with a standing ovation. Jackson's protest was more than simply defending a fellow musician. It was a cry out against the treatment of its legends by the industry. He went on to say, "George Jones isn't everybody. That's why I felt strongly about it, that he deserved a little more than everybody else. It deserved a little more respect." The act caused debate regarding professionalism and the methods of protest in the music industry. Although Jackson was criticized for straying from the set program, numerous others praised his bravery to take a stand for what he thought was right. George Jones himself was profoundly touched by the act, commenting, "What he did meant more to me than I could ever say." This was one of the most iconic moments in CMA history. It shows the value placed on honoring artists' work and fighting for what is right. Walking out during Beyoncé's CMA performance during the 2016 Country Music Association (CMA) Awards, Beyoncé's duet of Daddy Lessons with the Chicks created a huge row in the country music scene. Although some appreciated the collaboration, others believed it swayed away from traditional country music. Reports were claiming that Alan Jackson, an outspoken traditional country music supporter, got up from his seat during the performance, which many read as a silent protest. A manager from Nashville said, "I was sitting behind Alan Jackson, and he actually got up from the front row and walked out during the show." So, I think that said a lot for the traditional true country acts. The presence of Beyoncé, best known for her pop and R&B efforts, was viewed by some as an effort by the CMA to expand its audience base, but this was received negatively by the traditionalists who thought that the awards show must be dedicated to country artists alone. Travis Tritt, another country music artist, voiced his objection, saying, "I have nothing against Beyoncé. It's the CMA producers that I'm disappointed in. Country doesn't need pop acts for ratings." The performance was also criticized based on more fundamental concerns of race and genre definition. Some members of the audience allegedly made racist comments during the performance, illustrating issues that continued to exist concerning inclusivity within the country music culture. Even amid the controversy, most fans and artists rallied behind the performance, seeing it as a forward move toward making the genre more diverse. The incident highlighted the constant struggle between maintaining country music's traditional values and embracing a wider and dynamic musical scene. Accusations of genre purism. In 1999, George Strait and Alan Jackson performed the song "Murder on Music Row" during the Country Music Association (CMA) award show, a song that directly condemned the growing pop influences in country music. The lyrics bemoaned the loss of traditional country sounds such as steel guitars and fiddles being substituted with rock-era production and profit motives. The metaphorical murder in the song by country music had struck a chord among many fans who believed the genre was losing its true roots. Even though it was not released as a single, the performance attracted huge scrutiny and ignited controversy among the country music audience. While some complimented the artists for defending traditional country music, others perceived it as a rebuke to the changing sound of the industry. The impact of the song was realized when it was awarded the CMA Song of the Year award in 2001, pointing to the debate around the future of country music. Throughout the years, "Murder on Music Row" has remained a rallying cry for those who support a return to traditional country music. Its message remains relevant, capturing the continued struggle between commercial viability and artistic integrity within the genre. The record is still a landmark in country music history, representing the conflicts within the industry and the need to maintain its defining characteristics. Why Alan Jackson never takes off his hat. Alan Jackson's white cowboy hat is not mere fashion. It's a part of a personal tale that stretches back into his teenage years. He's become iconic as the tall country star with the booming voice, a guitar in tow, and that ubiquitous white cowboy hat. But few know that he began wearing the hat to conceal something. When Alan was in his teenage years, he got into an accident that left a permanent imprint, literally. He had run through a glass door and gained a quite noticeable scar directly on his forehead. As with most teenagers, he was self-conscious about the way it appeared. So rather than constantly excusing the scar or attempting to conceal it with makeup or bandages, he did something far more Alan Jackson. He donned a cowboy hat and looked back no more. What started as a means to cover up a scar gradually evolved into his trademark. Gradually, the hat had become part of him, so much so that it is difficult to imagine him without it. Even his fans would likely miss something if he appeared without that famous hat. His health battles. Country music icon Alan Jackson has long been famous for his sentimental lyrics, cowboy hat, and authentic demeanor. But in 2021, he shared something extremely intimate. He'd been fighting Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, CMT, a hereditary nerve ailment, for more than a decade. During a revealing interview on The Today Show, Alan described, "I have this neuropathy and neurological disease. It's genetic that I got from my daddy. There is no cure, but it's been bothering me for years, and it's becoming more and more apparent." CMT impacts the nervous system, leading to muscle weakness, difficulty walking, and loss of balance. Although it does not truncate lifespan, it can complicate daily movements such as standing, walking, or even holding a microphone pretty severely. Alan confessed that it wasn't so simple for him to speak about this in the open. "I've been hesitant to speak about this to my fans," he explained. But he felt it was time, particularly because fans were beginning to observe differences in his stage act. "Now I'm experiencing a bit of difficulty with balancing, even in front of the microphone. I just feel extremely uneasy." Even with his illness, Alan indicated he didn't want to call any of his tours a farewell. Actually, he told us that he's motivated by traditional country greats such as George Jones and Merle Haggard, who played as long as they were able to. "I'll try to do as much as I can," Alan stated, inviting fans to see him in concert while they can. Alan has also drawn heavily upon his wife Denise for encouragement. A married couple since 1979, she's been there for him through everything, even penning a memoir about their romance. "When I'm down, he picks me up. When he's down, I attempt to pick him up," she said to Today. In 2024, Alan provided a loving update to fans, stating, "I think it's just getting time to start thinking about hanging it up full-time. It's getting worse, and it makes me more uncomfortable on stage." But despite all that, his passion for music and his audience has sustained him. Alan's story is not simply one of a disease. It is a tale of strength, honesty, and deciding to continue on despite adversity. His daughter in the spotlight. Alan Jackson's personal life has tended to remain somewhat low-key in comparison to his large country music career, but his daughter Maddie Jackson Seligman recently hit the headlines for some very intimate and uplifting reasons. Maddie is not simply noted as being Alan's child. She is a published author and women's rights activist. She created Na Secheville, a social platform for supporting and empowering women, demonstrating that her interests are not merely tied to being linked to country music royalty. Maddie's existence has also been no easy one. She lost her husband, Ben Seligman, in 2018 as a result of a freak accident. The tragic occurrence really shook her and altered her perception of the world. Maddie used her process of healing and grieving in her writing, and in 2021 wrote a memoir called Lemons on Friday. The book discusses openly about grief, religion, and how she found strength during difficult times. It also has hints of how her father, Alan Jackson, silently encouraged her during such personal troubles. Even though he is someone who keeps things to himself emotionally, the memoir provides readers with a window into how the family copes with pain and healing out of the spotlight. Aside from Maddie's narrative, the fans have begun to revisit Alan Jackson songs with renewed perspective, asking themselves if his songs contain layers of meaning they never realized existed. Titles such as Drive for Daddy Jean and Where Were You? When the World Stopped Turning sound simple at first, earnest and down-to-earth ballads on family and the 9/11 attacks respectively. But some people believe that these songs may also be hiding greater private emotional experiences and conflicts that Alan went through. The lyrics may not necessarily be telling stories. They may be an echo of Alan's own inner struggles and subdued emotions that he never spoke about. This has developed a newfound respect for the music of Alan, as his fans try to imagine how his work could have been a means by which he was able to deal with and communicate things he kept to himself. Though he's well known for his smooth tones and old-school country sound, there now seems to be an awareness that his songs have more depth of feeling than they appear to on the surface. It serves to remind us that beneath the slick music and celebrity facade lies a human being with his own tale of suffering, love, and endurance. So, whereas Alan Jackson's life and career have always spoken to so many people, his daughter's stories and the innuendos in his songs provide further richness to the way we perceive him, not only as a country legend but as a father, a guy going through difficulties, and as an artist with complexities to be found. When you look at everything we've talked about, from controversies and criticism to personal struggles and family stories, one thing becomes clear. Alan Jackson is more than just a country music star. He's a complex person with strong beliefs, a deep love for tradition, and a real, sometimes difficult, human journey behind the scenes. He's not afraid to speak his mind, even if it means ruffling feathers. Whether it was protesting during award shows, walking out of performances he didn't agree with, or releasing songs that stirred up debate, Alan has always stayed true to what he thinks country music should be. That kind of honesty might not make everyone happy, but it does show how much he cares about the genre. At the same time, Alan isn't just some larger-than-life celebrity. He's a dad, a husband, and someone who's been quietly dealing with a serious health condition for years.